so long as like alchemy.
All right, y'all, here we go. Game 2, Houston, Wednesday night. And I appreciate a lot of you turning into that pregame. I had mentioned, didn't think we were going to get this one. Now, how bad would it get? I wasn't sure. The same starting lineups. And really, let's be honest, this is the first time the death lineup hasn't really just crushed other teams. And the Rockets, when you talk about the Rockets being built to beat the Warriors, that's what they mean. They mean they're built to play against this specific lineup. So ironically, Kerr starts the death lineup. And Kevin Durant will always be susceptible to getting his pocket picked. He shows the ball at 7 foot. You got to imagine his dribble is probably a foot higher than, let's say, Chris Paul's, and that's just more space for the rip. And right away, you notice the pace out in transition. And what that does is it doesn't give Golden State time to communicate. Shout out Justin for saying they would push it. I didn't think they would push it this much, but they did, and it was effective. There's the tip pass. And what was it? 3 turnovers in the first 3 minutes. And there it is, miscommunication. Just a lack of intensity. We've seen this before after a big win. Now, a lot is being made that Houston kind of duped us into playing their style as far as ISO KD and not let the others get off. You're right, it was just like a flip-flop in style. Speaking of flopping, shout out Draymond. That was a flop of the year candidate. I don't know, hope he doesn't get fined for that one. But again, KD is highly effective and efficient. I understand that. But I would be shocked if they don't go to Steph right away in Game 3 at Oracle Arena. If they don't feed Steph the ball early on in Game 3, that's a sign that Steph isn't feeling right physically, not mentally. James Harden continuing to get left, and you can see he likes to score early on, and I think we need to take that into account, especially the help getting caught in no man's land. Understand, make Harden pass the ball early. Iguodala always overpassing. Draymond, top of the corner 3. Has he hit one in this series? Now, you know I'm always going to find a silver lining with someone's struggles, if there is one. And I honestly think there is one. Steph is kind of adapting that irky-jerky CJ McCollum type of driving game because that's all he can get right now, and that's all he's comfortable doing. And so when the shot does come back, that irky-jerky style and getting to the rim is just going to add to the total package right now because he is getting to the rim in kind of a different style, and it's been effective. And again, Harden likes to score in that first quarter. We need to make him a passer early on. This is just a Clay not cutting hard enough, right? Now, Draymond was very inaccurate in a lot of his passes, but it also had to do with guys kind of half-stepping on their cuts and not cutting through cleanly. So there was plenty of blame to go around in this. I have to say, one-on-one, I like Draymond on Harden more than anybody because he matches the strength. He's got the length. Now, you say, how do you maintain that matchup with all the switching? I'm just suggesting maybe starting Green on Harden. It's, again, to counter his fast starts, you put the Defensive Player of the Year on him. Now, take a look at this that I had to show this because that is crazy to me. Now, he was definitely not as ball dominant in this one, and he didn't need to be, but that's just one of those eye-opening stats. Now, Joshua and a lot of you have pointed out to me, that I do pick on Steph, and I want to warn you. You saw him with his head turned there, and he had several of those moments that there's a lot of picking on Steph in this, but it's only because Houston picked on him so much that he was just involved in so many of these. Now, take a look at Iguodala here. Iguodala is really the cause of this bad pass because look at the spacing. You see how he just moves nowhere, and that allows Paul to double into the passing lanes. Draymond has to throw the pass at a bad angle because Ig doesn't spread to the 3 or move at all. Iguodala, one of his weaker performances. And the thing with big men is physical attributes. And Clint Capella just has a blend of size, strength, and agility that's just very unique and what makes him a special player. And again, Steph, the positive in his offensive game was the way he could get to the rim. This was my favorite play. Look at him hold the gooseneck like he didn't know it got blocked. Keep in mind, watching that closeout from Draymond to the corner. Draymond gets out to the corner better than maybe anybody in the league, right? Him and Iguodala. I don't know who taught Harden defense, but look at that hop with his feet together. I mean, that is something that you usually get coached out of you at probably the middle school level, like putting your feet together on defense, right? Now, the other shooting performance from the others, Ariza and Tucker, was really unexpected, but I wasn't too surprised to see Eric Gordon get hot. Here's some more ball movement, Warrior basketball. We're going to need to see more of that. Now, here's a sign of Steph pressing to find his own offense. I've hold it right here. That's a bounce pass and a dunk for Klay Thompson. And Steph usually makes that read, but you can see he's trying to find. I don't blame him. I'm just saying this is how it becomes so many elements combined into one for the struggles. Now, watch him. See how he goes right foot, left foot into the hop right there? Okay? I know that seems like a slight detail, but as a right-handed shooter, you go left step, right step into the shot. That's just the basic fundamentals, and that's what Steph does. I'll show you here in several clips. And I'm just keying, that might be a sign. Now you watch him here, watch, he's gonna step left and then right, left, right. That's what a right-handed shooter does, or I should say wants to do. Now there's exceptions, and Steph, the greatest shooter in the world, don't get me wrong, he can shoot them both ways, but ideally, that's how you would like him to step and how he would want to step. Looney, the turnover, has just not been aggressive enough at the rim. All of our non-shooters need to attack the rim when in the paint. It's just a mindset, and it's gonna keep their defense honest and open up our shooters. More Steph wiggle. Not only is it gonna open things up massively when the shot starts to drop, but it's also a sign that the knee is all right. Right? If the knee wasn't feeling good, I don't think he would be getting or going to the rim like he is. It's more in his head. David West, the closeout, and he gets banged on. Now you say, you know, the eye test says, okay, David West was there. That was good defense. You're going to see him get the two-handed dunk on the other end. But there's a difference between that closeout and the sellouts that Draymond and Iguodala do to those corner shooters. This one here, watch Draymond fly through, right? There's a difference when you're shooting that as opposed to a guy that closes out and stays in front of you to a guy that goes all the way through on the closeout. And Tucker and guys that aren't great shooters, it makes a world of difference. Swaggy gets in there and knocks one down. It'll be interesting to see moving forward if Quinn gets the nod or if they continue to go to Nick off the bench, Chris Paul, and these are just tough ones. There were a lot of contested makes, let's be clear about it. I don't think the effort level was quite as bad as Game 3 New Orleans, but it was just more of a subtle surrender from this team, right? There's the and one. And again, pushing the ball in transition, less time to communicate. David West at the heart of a lot of these attacks in the second quarter. Draymond, don't put the ball on the floor. Tucker, Paul, all the help defenders are trying to rip you low. They're not trying to block your shot. I like this from S-Dot. One lineup change you could consider is taking Ig out of the starting lineup and putting Sean in there just because he seems to be giving us a little more offensively, or potentially could. David West getting toasted out on the perimeter. And then you take into the fact that his elbow jumper has abandoned him. I just don't see how much more he can play in this. There's a late closeout in Tucker. This is where I think he really started to get going. I say I think. It's when he started to hit a bunch of threes. So this is when he started to get going with, you know, West on the floor. There's the sham god. This one is butt naked in the corner. And I knew there would be, I think everybody knew there would be an early storm, right? Fighting for their lives. It was, could we keep contact? Could we keep it single digits by the half? And Clay hit a few big shots here in the second quarter to keep contact. I know he just like everybody else, he didn't perform, especially on defense. I thought he didn't give as much of an effort as we normally see. And this is the sequence here, if you're the Rockets, that you highlight in your film room. You say, this is how we need to play if we wanted to dethrone the Warriors. All this extra ball movement, wearing out the help defense and rotations, and then ultimately getting the same result, a three ball, keeping everybody engaged for this end of the floor. There's Draymond, shoot the ball, right? That was predetermined read that obviously didn't work. Euro step to the rim. Here we go again. I understand he's hunting three balls for Clay, but that's Eric Gordon there. You need to either get to the line or try to dunk that basketball. Now look at Steph, how he doesn't see ball. And this is a problem in how he continued to get torched backdoor. As you don't see the ball, that's what's going to happen. That's basketball 101. He and Durant are very guilty of that. We've seen it all season long, and Houston took advantage on this night. I thought the help was just slow. Look at Draymond here. Either help or stay in the corner. He's just in no man's land. And here's just a sequence where they're not in sync. Iguodala is trying to clear out because Steph has been getting to the rim, but Steph thinks Ig is cutting backdoor. Again, Iguodala and Draymond need to take some of the pressure off our scores. And guess who's going to get caught not seeing the ball again? It's just the facts. Wide open, no one even in the paint. And at this point, I think everybody kind of knew what time it was, right? And the Warriors included. Now I'm holding it here just to look at the spacing. You see Draymond and Iguodala clumped up on the strong side and 4 defenders around Durant. Now he finishes this basket, but it was not easy. A lot of energy was exerted and the spacing was just terrible. It's one thing if they're not pulling the trigger on the 3, but then they're not willing to finish at the rim. It makes it almost impossible. Now I thought this was just fine defense from Steph. Where's the help though? It's almost like the game plan was to stunt at Harden. Watch the kind of fake Draymond stunts and gets back to Capella, and Clay just does absolutely nothing. And you say, well, Draymond and Iguodala, it's about this end. Watch them miscommunicate here and both help on the driver, leaving the hottest guy on the floor wide open in the corner. So they've got to figure out who's helping and who's going to the corner. Now, you can switch it up during the game, but it needs to be predetermined. You can't switch it up on the fly. That was probably the prettiest play of the game, the and one dunk on the 7-footer. But back to Draymond and Iguodala, that needs to be predetermined. You can change it at a timeout or something, but in the moment, you can't say, hey, no, you. Let's pick on Klay a little bit. He often escapes my criticism, but you see him standing right there. The play's already done. The play's done from him standing there, because when you have to run and close out at Chris Paul, he has you at his mercy. And so I think the biggest problem overall with this game was the off-ball defensive awareness and communication. Iguodala, you've got to finish that at the rim. Capella's not in there. You're just making it easier on their defense. And then Draymond, no crab dribbles. Chris Paul, he's not blocking your shot. Just rise right up. I think that's an adjustment he can make, and he'll have a higher percentage at the rim. And I said it in my first take video. You see Iguodala get blown by there, and when he was ready and defending, they kind of rolled over too quickly. KD, he kept trying to score. You see him face the smaller defender and show him the ball. That's always, we saw Drew Holiday and Rondo really attack that. He's got to turn his back. More Chris Paul work, and he takes the hard and one finish. I'm not sure when he strained the calf or Achilles. This is when they started to, I believe, mention it on the telecast, but we got to monitor that moving forward. And then the game's pretty much over here, and now Iguodala attacks the rim. And I think this is probably a universal thing in the NBA. You see a team kind of loosen up once the game is over and play maybe a little more freely, but that was still the case. And then we had some hopes until this play, right? You're trying to cut it to single digits, 8 minutes left, and Gordon with just the dagger. And so I'm going to spare y'all any more highlights. Obviously, this is a little shorter because I don't want to complain for 15 minutes, but hey, it is what it is. The material's the material. But Sunday, like I had mentioned before, I think we're going to see the ball in Steph's hands from the start. And if we don't, I think that's a bad sign. I also expect a rotational change. Will that be Sean Livingston into the death lineup since Iguodala doesn't seem to want to shoot the ball? Or will it be a Jordan Bell or JaVale McGee in place of David West? I'm not sure, but I think there'll be that. And I know that we can all, look at each round, and this game has happened each round, the one stinker. But I think we have to be a little more concerned given the opponent and given the fact that Steph hasn't looked like Steph. All that said, I expect the dub on Sunday. I'm out, y'all.